Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today we are looking at a Kansept knife. This is the Fenrir, and I have to say this is without a doubt the favorite concept knife that I have ever had. I really enjoy this. I carry it a lot. I use it a lot. I stop and look at it and just admire it a lot. It is really good. Now, for my preferences, it's a little on the small side of the equation. It's only 7 and 7/8. Normally, you guys know I like 8 inches or more. 3 and 3/8 on the blade again, which is a little smaller than I generally like. It is 4 and 7/16 when closed, which is pretty. What would you say? That's pretty compact, very comfortable to carry around with you, and it has three. But oh yeah, sorry. There's one. I had a note. I had a star beside my this number on my notes, and I was like, "What's the star doing there?" But this is the one potential problem that we may have. For me, the ergonomics are fine. However, this is not a knife that has a ton of handle real estate. It's only 3 1/4, right? So that's pretty tight. I've had knives that were quite a bit smaller than this overall that had more grip area. And so that is something to think about if you're looking at buying one of these. All right. Now, for me with my large hands, it does work fine. And there is the option to choke up on this, which I like a whole lot. There's a pretty generous finger choil there. Now, that is, for some people that's going to be a win. For some people, they're not going to like that at all because they'd rather that finger choil be used for more blade length. I'm certainly in the camp of give me the choil, and I'll happily sacrifice a bit of cutting edge to do that. All right. So this is a knife that I talked about. I talked about how much I enjoy this knife. Let me give you a quick rundown of why I enjoy this knife as much as I do. First of all, for the size and for carrying around with you on a regular basis in various different, pants and outfits and stuff, this is great. The size being a little on the small size, you never have to think about, if it's going to be uncomfortable, if it's going to fit in your pocket, or if it's going to be too, unwieldy or whatever. This is just always good. It's only 4.2 ounces. So for a titanium frame-ish lock, titanium bolster lock, really, that's not too crazy heavy. So size, weight, and carry, one of the things I really like about this knife. The handle. It's a little thicker and it makes the handle feel so comfortable. And we've got that nice thumb ramp there. So the handle feels great, and it does allow for a couple of different carry options, which for me is really good. So, ergonomics on this are very well done, which again adds to my love for it, right? Makes me like it even more. The action is really good. This is a very wow, fidgety knife. It deploys well. The detent is dialed in. The thumb studs are accessible. If you're a big front flipper guy, the front flipper works fine. I normally use the thumb studs for this knife, but the flipper option is okay as well. The lock bar is accessible. It drops really nicely. Now, Kansept knives, for a while now, people have been talking about the fact that they do a really good job with the smoothness of their ball bearings, and their action is pretty dialed in. And certainly this is no exception. Clip is comfortable and functional, right? It kind of fits the design. It goes in pocket and out of pocket without any difficulty. It's got enough tension that it holds there, and you can be pretty confident about it. So again, right, all the stuff that you notice on a daily basis of just carrying a knife around and using it, it's all done well. And it's all done well, yet we haven't, and so you get all that, and we haven't even talked about the design. And this is so attractive. This is such a cool looking knife. Like, it's a little bit different, but it's also pretty ordinary. It just strikes a great balance. Um, with being a little bit interesting and a little bit different and compelling without being so different that it becomes like an art knife that isn't practically useful for anything. This has all the practicality in the world, and yet it's not something that, you know, everyone's going to have. It's something that's a little bit different and unique. And part of that is because, of course, this is from Greg Schob, right? It's a designed knife where it's not an in-house design. And one of the things that I consistently feel like the overseas companies especially struggle with is design. They definitely do their best work when they're partnering with a good, reputable designer that has lots of experience and can deliver on something really good, right? Oftentimes, when when overseas companies come up with their own designs, it's kind of like, you know, they're imagining what a North American audience would want to see and making that, and it just often misses the mark. But this is so good. Um, and you know, it's you know, I guess you can always play it safe. And this is the other recommendation I have. You know, if you're an overseas company, something like this, the bag letter, super simple, super plain, very safe. Do something simple really, really well, and that's going to work. Okay. And the bag letter is a perfect example of that. But here we have something that isn't simple at all. In fact, it's really got these cool lines, and it has a flow to it and a feel to it that's all its own. And yet it's still exceptionally well done. It's pleasing to the eye. Everything feels like it makes sense and it is where it's supposed to be. And so the design here, I think, is the real story. Frankly, you know, if I just wanted to show you guys a knife that carries well, that does all the knife stuff really good, that has a good action and a comfortable handle in that, right? There are lots of knives that we could talk about that are well known, have been around for a long time, but you know, there's nothing really crazy happening with these knives. There's nothing, you know, dramatic or you know, noteworthy. But with the Fenrir, it's really noteworthy. Like this is one cool looking knife. Okay, this is where I think this really shines. It's a great looking design that's like compelling and interesting and different, and yet it just carries so easily. The action is great. It's comfortable in pocket. It's not too big. It's not too small. All right. Really, really well done overall. Now, are there any, you know, I've ranted and raved about how great this knife is. Are there any downsides? Are there anything that, you know, maybe isn't all that it could be? Um, First of all, there are a couple of combinations of this that I've seen that I don't love. So again, this is where I think Concept missed the mark a little bit. Some of the colorways that are available, I'm like, whoa, that looks terrible. Now you'll probably disagree with me, and maybe you think that's the most, you know, the I don't know, some other one that I find ugly you think is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. The other thing is, this is a stonewash finish. I tend to prefer satin, and there are some available in satin, but here was the problem that I had. The ones that had a satin blade had colors on the handle that just didn't connect with me. And so I couldn't find, I really wanted the blue. I would love to have the blue and satin. And I think such a thing does exist. It's just that none of them were available when I bought this one. All right. The other thing that I would say about this, now the price point is pretty reasonable. I think these are like 175 bucks, which is not bad at all. That's in the U.S. In Canada, they're probably $500. I mean, the markup is ridiculous right now, and it's gotten worse lately. Um, for that price point, S35VN is fine. Would it be cool to see something else, you know, 20CV or 110V or, you know, S45VN or something a little bit different? You know, yeah, it would, but is that something I'm going to take away points for or like, you know, balk over? No, not in the least. All right. Um, so those are my criticisms, and I think you can kind of get those are pretty minor criticisms. Uh, you know, they've done a lot of stuff really right on this knife, especially right when you're trying to make something unique and different like this. It's easy to kind of miss the mark and end up, you know, sacrificing function for form. This has a great compelling form and does not lose a single point for function, at least in my book. The only point that I could have raised here, as I said, was the handle is a little cramped. So if your hands are much bigger than mine, this could be a problem. Now, if they did like an XL version of this, or even if they just did like I don't know, a Fenrir 2 that was like a quarter of an inch bigger in the handle and the blade, I'd probably find that a little more compelling, but not much. This is so good. And for me, I have no problem, and I have a size large hand. So presumably, if you have medium hands or even small hands, you're probably fine. Only time you could have if you have extra large hands or extra large hands, yeah, that could be an issue for you. So there you go, guys. By far my favorite Kansept knife ever. I got this because I actually thought that I would not like this. I thought it would be a little bit too small for me. I looked at the numbers, but the design was so compelling that I had to try it. Now, having had this for a few months and been able to carry it and use it and spend some time with it, um, it totally won me over. As soon as I got it in hand and started flicking it a few months ago, I realized, hey, I really, really like this. Like this really connects with me. And that has not changed a bit as I've carried it and used it over time. I've only become more enamored with it. And so very positive review here, guys. I just have no issues with this other than those very, very slight complaints that I mentioned. So if you want one of these, that's where the problem comes. These are sold out everywhere. I did some Googling, and I've even had some people, I shared some pictures of this, and people were like, hey, where'd you get that? I'm looking for one. And I'm like, sorry, guys, you're going to have to wait for the next run. Kansept is pretty good about doing multiple runs of knives. So if you want one of these, go over to White Mountain Knives, click the notify me when they're back in stock button, and eventually you'll get there. Okay. You could try the secondary market, and I know there are some of these that I've seen go up, but I think most people feel the same way that I do. This is such a nice looking knife and such an enjoyable knife that most people have not been wanting to part with them. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there is, and if you look around long enough, you can find one. All right, so there you go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out those channel sponsors. That does help me a lot. We will talk to you soon.